Hey world, you are tuned to Anywhere the Needle Drops. I am your host, Justin Flegel. We've got a great show for you here. I just got done having a fantastic conversation with Luke and Mark of Call Me Malcolm from all the way across the ocean. That's right, Call Me Malcolm, the ska punk band coming from the UK, and they're coming at us here with a brand new album coming out on March 1st. And I have actually a pretty unique relationship with this band here. See, Luke and I got to know each other many years ago via a screenwriting podcast. That's right, it's a screenwriting podcast. Luke by day is a screenwriter and consultant, and we bonded over a show he had at that time, and just happened to stumble across the fact that he was a musician and I'm a music nerd. So when the new album was coming out, I said, hey Luke, you should come on the show. And man, we had a fun time. We got into all sorts of weird stuff, secret clubs, mixtapes, organizing playlists, hugging Goldfinger. That's a story for the ages right there. So can't wait to hear that one. So yeah, we're going to get you over to my conversation with Luke and Mark here in just a second. But before that, we have a track for you from the new album. This is the latest single. This song is called We Shall Meet in the Place Where There Is No Darkness. Thanks for coming on the show. It's cool having you here. It's sort of a weird journey we took to get here, in particular to myself and Luke. I don't know, Mark, if you got the whole tale, but
Yeah, I did end up getting copied into an email chain. I was like, oh, these guys are just chatting loads, and I was like, wow, they were chatting like a long time ago. Yeah, so
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I started to read the timestamps. I was like, oh, right, okay, this is like a really continued conversation. All right, fine, yeah, cool. I'll try and dip in where I can. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Well, and I think long delayed as well, because Luke, I don't remember the last time, I didn't check, but I had to dig into the archives to find the last email that we had sent to each other. It had been a number of years, so
Yeah. The podcast I was hosting, I mean, that hasn't run for I want to say 6 or 7 years. So yeah, it was a little while back we last spoke.
yeah. And that was the Story Toolkit podcast. I loved that. That's actually how this all came to be, was via screenwriting, actually. So it just happened that we were chatting, and Luke, you were like, "Hey, I'm actually in a band. You should check it out." And so
Yeah, I was trying to find the playlist you shared with me years ago, because I remembered how it had some great bands on there. But I don't still have it anymore, unfortunately. But there must be I don't know if it still exists on your Spotify, but there must be a link in that email chain. I have to try and dig it out.
So yeah, it's definitely in there somewhere. So I will send it back to you, because I do not get rid of playlists. I have every playlist that I've ever made since my first iPod, which was longer ago than I like to admit. So
Holy cow, that is amazing.
Yeah. In fact, I often joke that I'm pretty much to this day stuck with Apple products, because I built my first playlist on my original iPod, and had subsequently done so for many years. And there's just no good way to transfer those playlists off of an Apple device onto another device. And so I'm just stuck. Like, I don't care about phone quality or apps or anything like that. It's simply, I want my playlist, and based on that alone, Apple has me for life. So
That's incredible. That's utterly incredible. I do have this thing about like not throwing away music as well, though. Like, I do get it. I have I still have like hard drives of stuff. So when kind of Napster and what was it, like Kazam? I can't remember what the thing was I used.
Because Shazam is the one that helps you identify a song.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, you're quite right. Yeah, sorry. So Kazam and Napster and stuff, so I downloaded like millions of songs like back in the day, but I just have this thing about they're all on hard drives and stuff on computers. Some computers that don't even have like power supplies in them, but I won't get rid of the music. Like, but there's no way for me to actually get them. But yeah, it's quite nice to kind of go back like down memory lane again, because like I think like Spotify and stuff like that is quite hard to. I'm finding it very difficult. I was having this conversation with Luke the other day. Like, I have my shame is that I have like a 9,000 song long liked song playlist on Spotify, and I have no ordering system for this whatsoever. So I just have like thousands of songs, kind of just like they're just in a big bucket. I'm like, yeah, I like that, and then I think I spotted it like a couple of years ago, and somebody was talking to me about kind of how they ordered their songs. I was like, oh, I wonder how many's in my like songs. I was like, wow, that's like 7,500. And I didn't really think to kind of do anything about it. And yeah, we're up to sort of the lofty heights of 9,000 now, and I still haven't fixed
it. It was when we were on tour. We were talking to because Lloyd, our trumpet player on the road, not on the albums, but he plays live with us. He's got a similar thing, I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't know if it's bigger than 9,000, but you guys both have the same addiction to not categorizing your music. I can't. It breaks my heart absolutely breaks my heart.
It breaks mine too as well, because there's just loads of bands where like I just sort of go, oh, like I kind of lose them along the way. And somebody asked me the other day, they're like, oh, have you heard of this person? I was like, nope. And they're like, oh, you really like them. And then I went into them on Spotify. I was like, yep, got 3 albums liked. Yeah, I really like them. Apparently, like, no idea. Just completely lost them along the way somewhere. Yeah. So I know a lot of stuff, but yeah, only if you remind me specifically of the name of the artist. So yeah, sorry.
So it's bothersome from my nerddom as a music organizer, but also that gives me anxiety to think about 9,000 uncategorized songs. It reminds me of the friends I have who have 1,200 emails in their inbox still, or something along those lines.
I mean, that does sound a lot like the band email account. Actually,
I've gone through this. I fixed it. Like in the last couple of weeks, I've fixed it. Because again, I was having the same problem with the band inbox. I was just like, right, okay, fine. So I think I got it down from like, I don't know, 800 unread, and I got it down to 8 was where I got it to. So yeah, the thing is as well, it's more embarrassing for me, I think, because like my actual day job is like running operations departments and things like that. So it genuinely, like, my Spotify is like my secret shame. It's like it's like, I suppose it's like the one area of my life I'm like, fuck it, like I'll do whatever, like I'll get to it one day. It's like all the photos and stuff. I've now started to think about all the photos on my phone, and maybe I do have a bigger problem than I realize.
Maybe it's like I said, it's kind of a form of rebellion. You work all day organizing stuff, or keeping things together, and so you're like, in real life, you're like, fuck it, I don't want to deal with all that. I'm just gonna let it go and see what happens. So
I think there's some truth in that, actually, because like I'm a writer. Like that's my day job now, and so I'm thinking like so deeply about story structure and characters for so many hours a day that my biggest pleasure and equal shame at the same time is that my favorite TV show is Below Deck, which is a reality TV show about people that work on super yachts. Like I need to give my brain a wash at the end of the day.
I don't really understand how this interview has managed to start with us like just so immediately exposing the darkest parts of ourselves, of the shames that we don't want to share. And you somehow managed just to shine a light in our eyes and get the truth immediately.
I mean, that is why they pay me the big bucks here for this. So I'll just get right to the meat of it. So
what's yours? Where we've shared ours. What's yours?
Yeah. No, quite right.
So
we're all friends here.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, again, Luke, you and I met via, storytelling, and which is not my day job, but it is, I would say, a passion of mine. But a way I decompress, I watch. I watch some high-end TV shows and movies, but the thing I probably put on my TV the most when I get home is professional wrestling.
Yes.
So
yes.
Now we're cutting into it, right? Okay.
And now we have a therapy group.
Yep.
Yeah. So what? Same time next week, guys. Yeah. I still won't have sorted out my songs, by the way. I want to be crystal clear now.
Yeah. We want to know how many emails you have in the inbox too for the band when we see you next week. So.
Oh God, yes.
But that is funny. I mean, talking about that dichotomy a little bit. I was just at this music event. I don't know how well you know Michigan, over here in the States, but we have the Upper and Lower Peninsula for Michigan. It's like there's the part that looks like a mitten, and then there's the part above it. That's how Michigan is laid out, where all the lakes are. And there's this music event that takes place up on the upper part, where this time of year the weather is horrible, and all these people thought it was a good idea to go up there and have a music festival in the middle of the horrible weather. And it's all very, very loud and obnoxious music, but every person there is the kindest person you'll ever meet, give you their shirt off the back, that kind of a thing. And so it's weird, like you see these people with like, these two different sides of their personality, where it's like they're, you're getting it all out on the stage with this crazy loud music, and then you're like calm as can be, and never gonna hurt a fly. So
Yeah, there's something about that though. I mean, Luke and I go to Download Festival over here, which if you know it is basically a metal festival, and I've always kind of said to Luke, like over all of the years, I've done many festivals, kind of all over the world, like, and actually, Download's just the nicest people. Like, I also kind of always go to that festival going, like I'm not sure, like I'm the biggest metal fan, but you know, like my mates are going, and like you know, it's good fun, and there's plenty of bands that I would want to go and see. So, and I kind of always walk away from the festival like every time, like, oh man, it's just the nicest people in the like metalheads are the nicest people in the world, and I think I really love metal. I think that's always the conclusion I come to, like every time I do it. So yeah, no, I do get it. Like I do really get what you're saying. Like there is something about like the people sort of, I guess, like getting that cathartic kind of decompression from all of it, and then
I mean, it is a metal festival, but what genre were our two favorite acts last year?
Oh, another secret shame.
Oh, do tell, do tell.
No shame. No shame whatsoever.
Oh man,
it's a safe space here. Safe space.
Oh man, we're really getting into it early, aren't we? Oh god. Okay, so I'd like to stress for the record that I didn't really know too much about these bands beforehand. Luke and I kind of normally make some playlists and stuff of like bands that are playing, and actually this time round I kind of I didn't listen to everything. I didn't have time to kind of listen to everything, so I kind of missed a few bits and pieces. And there was these guys called Perturbator, kind of were they playing on the Friday or the Saturday? I can't remember. Maybe the Friday, but basically that I didn't really know a great deal about them. And there's just this sort of lighting rig in one of the tents sort of set up, and these guys just come out with like synth keyboards and guitars. I was like, what is this? Like, what have you brought me to, Luke? And just like, you know, when you go to those gigs and like you literally just like as quickly as it starts, you've enjoyed it so much that it's ended, and you're just like bewildered like at the end of it. And basically it's like French synthwave, and it's just the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, and honestly, walking out of the tent, we were walking out of the tent. Obviously, there's thousands of people everywhere, and I was just kind of like kept on saying to Luke, I was like, "What have I just witnessed? Like, what was that?" And there was this like guy, like just random dude, just kind of like passing behind us, like walking in a completely different direction, and just kind of heard me saying it. And he went, "Yeah, well, that's the French for you." Like, I was like, it's one of those beautiful quotes. Like that's the guy is just like it's solidified in history for Luke and I now forevermore. But yeah, and then like the next day, we went and saw there was another act called Carpenter Brute, and basically same genre. And I basically said to Luke, I was like, well, you know, it probably won't be as good as yesterday, but like, you know, I'm you know, in for a penny, in for a pound, let's do it. And yeah, like basically like went along and then walked out of the tent, and like I was like, how was that better? Like, how was that more enjoyable than yesterday's? And then yeah, Luke and I have just become I would say healthily obsessed by French synthwave ever since then. And I think I'm comfortable with it. I'm all right with it.
Luke, are you
I am
comfortable
too.
with
It's
this?
just completely. Yeah, I've long ago gave up any shame about the kind of music that I listen to, because as much as you know I love ska and skacore and metal and everything, I listen to an incredible amount of pop and now French synthwave. But the funniest thing about Download was that like Metallica were headlining twice. So I got 4 hours of Metallica, and I've been listening to them for almost 30 years, I would say. Like, and I was so excited to go see them, and they just the like live show compared to these French synthwave acts, just not even on the same like planet. Just like they were. The synthwave was just a different league of live act. It was just utterly bonkers.
I should also stress as well that I think Carpenter Brute came out with a guitarist who had long hair, down to his knees, and I swear to you, Justin, this is true. He did not stop. Like, you know, like you do that sort of, they can do that sort of head banging where they just swirl their hair, like,
Oh, yeah.
and yeah. So he did that. I'm not joking, for 45 minutes straight, and then walked off stage. Like, nothing else. Like, not literally, that was his rock out for like 45 minutes. The music didn't stop. It was just blaring synthwave, and he just played metal guitar over the top of it, swirling his hair around for 45 minutes. I'm like, you are the coolest man I've ever seen. Good
As a
on you.
guy in his 40s, I'm hurting just thinking about that. Like, that would take me. I'd be at a chiropractor after that.
Yeah, I mean, I assume they wheel him out on a rack after every gig. I don't
Yeah.
think I don't think that guy walks. Yeah, I'm with you. Oh man,
You know, it's true though. Like you said, Luke, there is no there's no guilt when it comes to, I mean, really at this point in my life, anything, but especially music. I love whatever, you know. If it speaks to me, it speaks to me. If it's fun, it's fun, and I don't care if it's I don't know, some cool punk band or Madonna. I mean, speaking about the festival I was just at, you know, one of the bands was, I don't even know what you would describe them. And it was kind of a synthy thing, but it was basically two people dressed like they were on a cruise ship, playing synthy sounds and telling weird poetry. And I was there for it. It was great, you know?
I mean,
Yeah, I think there's.
I'm into that.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound great. There's they might be playing Download this year. I'll check. I'll try and check it out. Yeah, well, it's like, it's music's part, like, forms part of our identity as we're growing up, right? And part of that growing up process is trying to find your people. And so, at least that was my experience anyway. And so you end up flocking to that. Like, you know, I had a lot of like metalhead friends when I was young. Like, that was our kind of group one, and then it sort of blended. Like, we accepted other loud guitar based music, and started listening to punk and stuff like that. But there was, like, I remember there was always a shame about listening to or liking other types of music, and just at some point it just switched off. Probably like in my early 30s at some point, I was just like, I'm just going to get over it. Like, I really like Girls Aloud. I'm just going to listen to their back catalogue. And yeah, just like I said, big pop fan. You know, I like good melodies, and you're just going to find them wherever. It doesn't really matter what the music sounds like to me. I'd say there really isn't a genre that I wouldn't give some time now if it had a good tune. I think Mark's the same as well.
Yeah, it's funny that you say it about kind of like friendship groups and stuff. I think you're right. Like, I spent a lot of time kind of like, because I suppose I've always been quite broad in my listening, and I think a lot of people, when everyone was finding their tribe, and as you say, kind of doing that when we were younger, like, I've always kind of listened to like weird and wonderful stuff, and I've always kind of just wanted to absorb all of it. And I think some people kind of always thought that was quite weird, especially when we were in you know, teen years and stuff, because I do remember kind of like, you know, levitating a lot to like well, I suppose what we would class as kind of EDM stuff now, like kind of like chill dance stuff and things like that. And I was really drawn to that, but I also really loved all of the punk stuff and metal, and like emo was a massive part of sort of like the specific sort of time where I grew up. And yeah, like, I think a lot of people thought it was quite weird because I never really, I'm better at doing it now, but I never really like fully. Some people got really committed to one genre and they were like, that's me, that's everything, that's all I do. And so, you know, like, people really sort of enjoying like emo and stuff. And there are some records now where like people class them as kind of like seminal records within like a particular genre. And it was when I was growing up, and and genuinely I miss them. Like, just genuinely I miss them along the way. And I've gone back and listened to them now, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get, and it's kind of, everyone's kind of invoking the nostalgia clause in their contract, kind of going, well, you know, it was when we were 16, right? Like, so you have to have known this one. Like, and I just miss, as there are some, I suppose that's the thing, is that because I was listening very broadly to lots of stuff, I kind of missed a lot of things. But But yeah, so I love things like, I don't even know if this is something that anyone would have really heard of lots of, but there's a band or group called Lemon Jelly, and like they did there's a couple of records.
Yeah.
They only did like 3 albums, but they just released is it Lost Horizons, which it's called something like Lost Horizons, I think. And the artwork was beautiful, and like everything about it was just, I was just like, what is this? Like I was at that time kind of, yeah, people were like sort of introducing like punk bands and emo bands and stuff to me, and so then kind of like finding something like that, and I was like, so hold on, so you can just do any artwork you like, and actually you can make stuff that's like entirely computer based. And it's like, and even that kind of like just exploration for me was well part of the reason why I've always really enjoyed it. But yeah, I suppose I didn't find that tribe in quite the same way. I suppose that's kind of the difference for me. But yeah.
So I think, yeah, the other difference I noted actually is that you've always been this way, but I haven't. Like, I mean, maybe it's something to do with growing up in the '90s. Like UK chart music was other than like when Brit rock came along, it was just wall to wall dance music, and I hated it, absolutely hated it. But now, EDM is such a healthy part of my audio diet, and I love it. So like, I'm fully convinced that my brain has changed in the way it maybe like it hears or perceives certain like sounds or frequencies or so. There's got to be something in that. But yeah, like there's a bunch of stuff I listen to now, and a bunch of like talking about missing stuff. Like I hated the I don't know what you would call it, but the bands like Thrice and Funeral for a Friend, like from the early 2000s, like, and that passed me by completely at the time, and it's only now that I'm going, okay, I'm going to work my way back through these, because I love the bands from that genre, like that are playing nowadays. I'm like, okay, I gotta go back and check out where this all came from, because like my head's in a space where I can listen to it and go, oh, this is cool, and not like, no, I need more trumpets or something.
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys are similar to me in that you're actively sort of exploring and going back into some of the older stuff that maybe you missed and diving deep into it. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Luke and I. Shall I tell him, Luke? That
Oh yes, you must. Yeah.
Tell him about the secret club.
The secret club. We have a secret club. Yeah, Luke and I have a secret club that only me and him are in. We have talked about having other members at some point, but I think we both quite like the safety of it just being us. There's something quite sort of like we feel very unjudged. But Luke and I have a separate WhatsApp group, which is just got me and him in it. Even though we also talk normally as well, like normal. We have our own separate WhatsApp group, and the rules. So it's we're the presidents of the AV club, and the only rule is that you can only share well, either audio or video. So we do share some like films and TV, but generally speaking, it's kind of all of the music we found. And the only rules really are that you post the link, you post a description about it, which is normally saying, I think this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. You must drop everything you're doing now and listen to this. And you can describe the genre, but literally no talking in that group. So we never speak in that group other than just to share links and share music with each other. And we've talked for many years now. We've talked about having an awards ceremony at the end of the year. Yeah. So, I mean, now I say it out loud, it sounds a lot more mental.
I think it's because I got frustrated with us sharing music in our normal chat and having to go searching for it amid like band conversations and talking about like, you know, what did you do today kind of stuff. So like, let's what it was basically me trying to get you to categorize music for once.
And all you ended up with it was a giant trough that we just dumped music in. So really, you've come around to my way of thinking, I think, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
So that's a
Weird.
lot of rules, and it sounds like maybe Luke, you're responsible for laying out these rules. Was there like a sit down session with negotiations as to how this was all going to function? I mean, this is very
I don't know,
specific.
man. I've been
we did
vetoed on
discuss
many
it.
times.
We did
Yeah,
discuss. There are some quite clear rules as well. Is that like we're not? So one of the rules is that you must share albums. Like so, you must share albums in the group. Which frustrates
for the
the
record
hell out
is
of
a
Luke.
bullshit. It's a bullshit rule.
It makes him so mad. And so every so often, like in our normal chat, he'll send me an EP and he'll go, "Well, rules is rules, but I like this."
Well, I invoke.
Man.
I invoke the Rocket from the Crypt clause. Like, what my favorite Rocket from the Crypt album is Live from Camp X-Ray, and I remember it's back in the days in HMV where you could like go grab a pair of headphones and spin a couple of tracks or the whole album if you had nothing better to do. And I remember hearing the first song on that album and just being like blown away. So I bought it, got it home. It's 22 minutes long. It's the shortest album I own. And so if I find any EPs, particularly if they are over 22 minutes, that's going in AV Club. I don't care that it's an EP. It's long. If it's longer than Live from Camp X-Ray, it's an album in my book.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, you've even started sneaking playlists in there recently. I have noticed. Like,
I think you'll get a kick out of this, Justin. I started making mixtapes, but like digital mixtapes. Yeah, I know you do as well.
I do, yeah. Yep. And in fact, we do a weekly one here, which Call Me Malcolm's been on more than a couple of times, I think. So yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh, damn! Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I used to do I used to make actual tape mixtapes when, like, in my teens, and I'm trying in the spirit of I'm trying to limit myself to an amount of songs. I'm trying to thematically do it, and it's just been fun. It's just been a nice way of listening to some old songs I used to listen to and kind of zoning out at the same time. It's kind of therapeutic. But I broke the AV Club rule and I shared it in there.
I think this is surreptitiously your way of kind of like trying to get me to order music again, which I for one won't have it.
Yeah, so I miss those actual mixtape days. I mean, I love having access to so much different music, but there was something about, sitting there and having a physical mixtape you could give somebody, particular, a pretty lady or something like that. But it was nice to sit down and do all that. And now it's near impossible to really do that proper. So I guess playlists are the next best thing. But
No, I used to do it. I mean, so even long after like CDs and stuff had properly taken hold, and like personal like CD players and stuff, and everyone kind of had those at school. I actually went back to tapes. Because actually, if I was kind of like walking around, well, I just spent all my time just with headphones in, like walking around school or like walking home or whatever. And like, I just found that CDs, like in personal CD players, like always skipped. And
they did,
it just used to annoy the bejesus out of me. I was just like, do you know what? I can't listen to it properly, and it's going to really annoy me because and so I ended up basically taking all of my CDs and then re-recording them back onto tapes again. And there are some albums that suffered a little bit. I do remember, like, I think I never knew the last half of the last song on one of the AFI albums because the tape wasn't long enough, and I was like, well, I'll never know how that album finishes. Like, I'll never discover it, so I'll just have to assume they ended on a perfect cadence and everything was fine. But
I had before I had it on CD, I had Trouble Gun by Therapy on recorded on a tape. But at one point, I was listening to one of the songs on it, Going Nowhere, I think it was, and I accidentally hit record and play at the same time over a little bit. So there was a section of the song that I didn't hear for years. And at one point I forgot what it sounded like. It was only a few seconds, but it was weird then getting the CD and hearing that bit. My brain still wants to cut like the 6 or 7 seconds out of that song because I listened to it so many times with that little chunk. that little chunk missing. But I didn't have. I still. I was clearing out my office the other day. I still have 2 mixtapes that got given to me by a friend who was the friend that really opened my eyes to a lot of the ska that I'd never ska music I'd never heard before, like third wave, because like we heard another different friend got given a copy of Turn the Radio Off by Real Big Fish and Keys Be Nights by Catch 22, but that was the ska we had. That was it. And then this other friend came along and was like, oh, ska, you say? Here, mixtapes. And so I've got, I can't bring myself to throw them away because I want to make them, basically make the digital version on Spotify. I've got no way to play them, no way to play the tapes, but he wrote down all the songs on the inlay in the tape box. So I'm going to make them on Spotify. So then, you know, I can finally get rid of this very, very obsolete and probably not working format.
It's funny that you say it as well. I actually, it's a memory that has literally just come back to me while we've been talking about tapes. But actually, that was how I got into ska punk. Like, actually, somebody gave me a mixtape, and he recorded loads of songs. Basically, it was a very, very old friend of mine wanted to start a band, and he had loads of instruments, like, but just didn't have anyone to come and play the other ones, and so he basically like he genuinely, so he just like basically like he had a guitar and bass and drum kit and stuff, and he wanted to be the guitarist and the singer, and so he just started giving us all these mixtapes. He was like, right, I want you guys to like listen to this stuff, and we're going to start a punk band. I was like, okay, fine. And he put Less Than Jake, so Less Than Jake, Ninth at Pine, on I think on the second side of the tape, and I was like, just what the hell is this? Like, what am I listening to? This is like the punk music that I've just been starting to get into, but like somewhat, and I'd actually started to learn to play saxophone, probably about a year or so before that, and so I was like, oh, this is two of the worlds like that I really love, like colliding. Someone's finally done it. That's great. Like, and he just like accidentally sort of left it playing, and so it ended up with like going, because that song transitions on Losing Street, transfers straight into Sugar in Your Gas Tank, and then I heard that and I was like, oh my god, I think this might be my favorite song of all time. What the hell is this? Like, there's this like, and it's just, and so yeah, it's funny. I haven't thought about that in 20 years. That's a really funny memory. But yeah, that's actually how I got into it as well.
So with the ska punk stuff, so were you, both of you, were you playing other music prior to this and then transition to that? Like, were you in bands earlier than knowing of ska punk or coming across that, or was that kind of where you guys got your start?
I have an illustrious career of failed terrible bands prior to playing ska, and then a reasonable chunk of ska bands that failed also before Malcolm came along. You know, maybe I'm the common denominator now I think about it. This really is a therapy session.
This one's got failure written all over it as well.
We're recovering memories, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I learned to play classical guitar at primary school. So when I was 10, I think I started, and then I kept smashing all the strings at once whenever the teacher would lean over to get some more music or something. And I remember him turning to me one day and being like, "You want to play loud, don't you?" And I was like, yeah, I do. But it was years later I eventually picked up an electric guitar and taught myself how to play loud. But it started out as a joke band. But there was one before ska came along. There was one serious band, but we did like a mix of covers and originals. But it was all like talking like mid to late 90s. We were very young and we were playing basically like Therapy and Foo Fighters, but like 90s Foo Fighters, so better Foo Fighters.
Tread carefully, sir.
Yeah, it was just like rock, kind of rock, indie, alternative, just good heavy music. And we weren't very good. And then as like that kind of crumbled, and then at some point I heard my first ska punk song. I heard "Sellout" track 1 on the Real Big Fish album at a friend's barbecue, and that was it. I very quickly said, right, I'm gonna have a ska punk covers band, and so we got that together, and that failed. And then out of those ashes came the next ska punk band, and then eventually out of those ashes came Call Me Malcolm. So yeah, I haven't really looked back since I was 17, 18. Can't remember which year it was, but yeah, that was my awakening. But yes, I've had other bands, and none of much note.
So, and Mark, were you a part of one of those other bands that failed before Call Me Malcolm came along, or when did you come into the mix?
So there's a little bit of an age gap between Luke and I, which is obviously fairly inconsequential now. But when Luke was in the band, the sort of the main band before this one, so Battlescar Galactica, I was a fan. I was just going to gigs, so I started watching those guys when I was I don't know, like 30, like 12, 13 years old, 14, like.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I kind of knew those guys. I started hanging out with all of those guys through watching them play, but it wasn't until many years later. I mean, I very technically joined that band, but I only joined that band in the reunion years. So what kept happening was that, like, basically within our sort of our friendship circle in the local area, there's this there's an urban legend around that band, I suppose, now, of like, there's this sort of these people, if you know kind of thing. And like, if you grew up at a certain time, like you really love Battlescar Galactica, if you grew up in basically Dover or Folkestone, like everyone loved that band. And so we ended up doing these reunion shows. And I think by the time the reunion shows had started, I was already in Malcolm, or I was just started playing in Malcolm. Like, it hadn't been long. But yeah, so I think the reunion shows had you've been doing reunion shows longer than you'd actually been a band now, I think was
yeah. Well,
I think it's how it's ended up. So
yeah, it's so funny as well, because it was earlier in our I was 18 when that band started, and we were a band for 7 years, I think it was 7 or 8 years, and that felt like a lifetime. By the time the band quit, that's a third of our lives that we've been in a band. It feels like we've been in Malcolm less time, but we've been in Malcolm for now 13 years.
Oh wow! Okay,
just a much longer time period. Like, since we started, since Malcolm started, the pre-Mark years, the before times,
the dark times is what
the dark times.
The very
it was
dark
funny.
times.
It was funny because we did just. It reminded me of how the reunions began. We always joked in the band. We had a song about playing ska for money. And the band finished, and we did a big, like, we had a pretty reasonable local following, and so we did a big show with pyrotechnics on stage and everything at this massive local venue, to like 400-500 people, and it was this big ending to the band. Like, we're done. This is a period of our lives that's over. And then a few months later, a local promoter was like, Voodoo Glow Skulls are coming through Kent. Do you want to do a show with them? And we're all like, yes, of course we'll reunite to play with the Voodoo Glow Skulls. So we did that. And what happened is, basically every year somebody would say, Yeah, I was thinking I might do like a Christmas show back at that venue, like, you know, the venue that you guys always used to play. Do you want to do that? We're like, yeah, okay, then let's do that as well. And that just kept on going. Eventually we had to pull the plug on it because it got obscene. It was like 8 or 9 years of reforming to play a show after only being in a band for 7 or 8 years. But yeah, just sellouts.
The last reunion tour, just never ending. I love it.
Yeah.
So, Luke, I seem to recall at one point during our conversations about music, the band Mustard Plug coming up because they're from right around here, here in Michigan. Is that, do I recall that correctly?
You did, yeah. I saw that in the chain. A friend of ours is like an Uber fan, I think I'd describe him as. But yeah, they were Mustard Plug must have been they were proper third wave, I think. They were the kind of Real Big Fish era. But yeah, we did chat about them.
Yeah, I love those guys. I remember seeing shows with them, you know, here, and just like they would play the dankiest local little clubs here, and it was wonderful because there was no, there was no big to do about it. It was just like, all right, we're here, we're gonna shove the instruments in the corner, and we're just gonna have a good time. And they were always a blast to see live. They were always so much fun.
Oh, unreal. I've never seen Mustard Plug actually. That's which is because they're on Bad Time with us now because they've just done their release with them. Just on their release with Mike as well, haven't they? So yeah, I mean, at some point, I kind of am sort of secretly hoping that we cross paths. So yeah, that's
label mates. There you go.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that actually as well.
There you go. Yeah. Have you had other experiences like that with bands that you admired that you either maybe, you know, got to open with or collab with or just encounter at some point during your career?
I mean, yeah, I'm not good at meeting famous people. And like people
he's really not. He's really.
I'd lead with that up front. But it's kind of steadily blowing my mind. Like we'll be shared, like somebody from some band we've been looking up to for 20 years will like follow us on Instagram or something, and our heads will explode because it's like, how do you even know that we exist? And you know, through Mike at Bad Time, the guy that runs Bad Time Records, him showing me just a couple of screenshots of people like talking about our record, like one of the singles we just released, you know, saying this is great or whatever, and just being like, holy shit, I've been listening to your music for I love you. You're not supposed to know who I am.
It's actually worrying that you know who we are now, as that scares me a little bit. Like,
but I think I think I'm better. I think I'm better now than I was previous. I've done a lot of work on myself, and I'm on heavy doses of medication. I think I can meet a famous person now and be okay.
Oh dear.
Mark's unbelievable with it. He's just like, yeah, they're just human beings. I'm like, yeah, but sort of godlike human beings. And so
no, man, you've just got to like go and say hello. Like I will never forget when we went to when we went to bowling with Less Than Jake. That was so funny. That was so funny. That was you and your wife were both very starstruck in that interaction. And I stood and chatted to Roger for ages afterwards, and we were, I think, because it was I think it was Less Than Jake and Anti-Flag, and but you get to do bowling with the bands beforehand. So it was, I think it was in the O2 in London, and you do like the
it wasn't. Oh wait,
no, as in the bowling place was inside the O2. Sorry, that is what I should say. And there's
right, okay, yeah.
Inside that building, there's a venue there as well. That was where the gig was. But yeah, so you just like bowl with the bands and say hello and stuff like that. But yeah, and then you get to sort of meet the bands and stuff afterwards. And well, it's kind of during and things. So I think actually while Anti-Flag were playing, I was just kind of like having a chat with Roger and like just yeah, he's an absolutely lovely guy and just a normal human being. And it was Luke and Hannah didn't fare so well in that conversation.
Not at all. Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
I mean, this is those circumstances that sort of keep you up at night. Like if you're having a wee bout of insomnia or something, like, and then you recall something from 20 years ago, and that's it. It's like sleep's done. It just reminded me again. I'm not going to sleep tonight.
Oh no! I'm
watched,
so sorry.
We went to see Goldfinger at the London Astoria. And I'd wanted to see them for years. So this must be 20 years ago now, and I was so excited. I was so excited. Like, I'd looked up to them so much, and I remember reading in a review about when they played Mabel, they would invite people up on stage, and I was on the barrier because I was young enough to do that back then, and he John Feldman started talking, and I just felt, I knew he was going into the kind of Mabel bit, and people were going to get up on stage, and I just kind of went, yeah, and he pointed at me and went, this guy right here, get up on stage, and I was like, wow. So I did. I climbed up, and then I convinced him to get my friend up on stage as well, and so they start playing the song. There's about like maybe 10, 20 of us on stage, just jumping around, and me and Darren Pfeiffer pulled a face at each other. But it's the moment where I was overcome with emotion, and I saw Charlie, and Metal Charlie is just like one of my favorite guitarists. And he was playing, and I just went up behind him and I hugged him, and he turned around and looked at me like he was going to kill me dead. Like, he would stop playing and he would do it. And that's it. That was our interaction. That's what my favorite guitarist thinks of me.
Wow.
Oh, man. I've never heard that story. That's great.
And I have to live with that. So
oh dear. Yeah, actually when I was texting him the other day, he did say he's not over it. So
wow,
that's sorry, dude.
Hey, that guy's a big dude as well. He is he's an absolute unit of a man.
Yeah,
so he could have killed me dead.
Yeah. Advice to the kids at home: don't hug your idols without consent.
I mean, absolutely. There is a very strong lesson about consent there. Like, he was right to look at me like that.
Was the hug mid-song?
Yeah, he was playing.
I mean, as a guitarist, you know how annoying that is.
It's not like a look, I'm not justifying my actions. It was the wrong thing to do, but I didn't go in and like pin his hands to his sides or anything. Like, it wasn't a big bear hug. It was I don't know.
Was it quite tender, and you pulled his head to your bosom? What was the vibe?
Look, I just rested my head on his chest and looked up at him lovingly. Like, what's wrong?
Can't a guy just look lovingly at his idol anymore?
Oh wow, that is I have to say, Luke, and hopefully you take this as an honor, but that is one of the best stories we've had told on this show. So
it's I can't believe you never told me that before, man. That's hilarious.
Well, I don't like thinking about it. Why would I tell people?
So you decided to publicly go on a podcast and decide that this is the best forum.
I was saving it for the right podcast. Yeah, I honestly, I thought I had told you that one.
That's great. Oh,
wow.
Hopefully this is a good way of sort of, discharging it, like getting rid of it. It's fine.
Yeah. I hope you've released it now, so you can go home tonight and you'll fall asleep and you'll stay asleep and you won't worry about it any longer. That's what we're doing here. We've cleared that for you. So
yeah.
It's a good group to listen It's a good therapy group.
Well, as much as I would like to continue helping you both through your various, childhood traumas, we do have an album to talk about because we are what?
I forgot.
I forgot that's why we're here. I was the same. I was like, do you know what? Just this has been lovely. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll
Same
see
time
you
next
tomorrow.
week. You know.
Yeah. Yes, we do have an album. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So is it March 1st? Is that the date that I have down here?
that is
Yeah,
correct.
March 1st. I don't know when this goes out, whether it's after or before, but
So we're actually gonna rearrange the schedule a little bit. We're gonna actually drop this in 2 days here, which is a little faster than our normal turnaround time. But we wanted to get this out because that'll be our last episode before the 1st, and we wanted to get it out for you guys before the album releases. So yeah.
Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. So the Goldfinger story is going to come out before the album. That's what I like to hear. That's
Indeed.
the priority I like to hear.
That's yep. We'll lead with that, in fact. So,
so we'll never know for sure whether it boosted or killed our sales.
Yes. Oh God.
Maybe you'll get a call from Goldfinger. Who knows? You know.
That's a very real fear.
Yeah.
Don't say things like that. We won't release the record.
Pull it now.
Pull it everything. Cancel everything.
So all right. So tell me. This is how many albums do you guys have now?
Good question. This is in reality it's our 4th, but it's our 3rd good one.
Okay. All right.
Oh man, we've got to stop saying that.
Every band has one of those. It's fine. It's fine. You know, it's one for the collectors. So
I'm technically allowed to say whatever I like about it because I was a fan at that point. I wasn't in the band, so it's kind of an irrelevance to me as well.
Oh yeah, there you go. You don't have to take any blame for it. So
quite right.
The albums got better after you came along. You know.
That has been said. I don't want to be the one to say it. Luke normally chips in at this point in podcasts and says yes without me sounding arrogant.
I'll let you field this one today.
Thanks, mate. Now, I suppose it's probably my time to sound like a douche. So here we go.
So let's see. So you've got the album coming out. Anything like any new directions with this, or anything that particularly stands out about this album?
It's always a funny question. I've been thinking about this a little bit recently. Like we never sat down at the beginning and sort of agreed a new direction or a new kind of particular influence or anything like that. But we did, like every album, Mark brought this up yesterday in a conversation, every album, our approach to how we put songs together has just been slightly fine-tuned and refined. And so this one, we were bringing far less fully formed ideas into the room. Previous albums, it's been like, okay, here's a finished song, let's rip it apart. Like I would finish a song, give it to the room, we'd rip it to shreds and build it back up, and often it would just look nothing like it did in the beginning, which is fine. That was like just our process over the last couple of albums. But then this one, we bring kind of sections. We're like, hey, I've got this cool riff, I want to do something like this, and we do a lot of the building ourselves. And then like me or like our drummer Chris was involved a lot in the writing process in this as well, and some of the ideas for songs came from him. Then someone might go away and do their own kind of building and bring a little bit more back, but most of it was done with the 5 of us in the room together, which is different. And I think as a result, for me at least, like it's I don't know, I think it's heavier. The last album was heavy, but I think this is heavier. I think our mission was, going back to how I started rambling in the first place, we didn't go in with a goal of like we want it to sound like this, but we did go in with the goal that, like, you know, we enjoyed the last 2 albums. Let's just make ourselves really happy. Let's just write songs that we're like, it's a bit of a joy to play kind of thing. And that's what we did. And I think it's just sort of come out. I think it's a bit more dynamic. It's a bit more aggressive. It's certainly more technical in places. Like, I think we're all pushing ourselves about as far as we can on the album.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. What were your
yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you, man. I think I suppose I would say for people that are going to listen to this before the record comes out, it's kind of that thing about people say something's really technical and it puts people off. I suppose, and I one of the things I would probably also say is that, like, no, I was actually going to say is that, like, there are lots of very, very technical things in it, but actually, I think some of the art of doing that and putting technical stuff into records is that there's plenty of records that I've listened to over the years, and I'm like, yeah, that is technically highly accomplished musicianship, and I really understand what you are trying to show. You're trying to show me just how good you are at your instrument or your craft. Fair enough, but actually the musicality of the piece then gets lost because you've become so technical that actually you've kind of missed a sense of melody and bringing people along for the ride. You know, a lot of people that listen to music don't necessarily have a musical grounding, so they'll just go, I like it, I don't like it, you know, like it's as simple as that. It's like we kind of started this conversation. It's a taste thing, right? Like, you like it or you don't like it. You don't know that we've written a section in 7/8 and you don't care. Like, why would you? Like, it's not interesting to you. Some people like to pick it apart and analyze it, and some people just like to enjoy it for what it is, you know. And I suppose that this kind of technical aspects, I think I'm really proud of, like, all the stuff we've done that's really, like, technical on the record, because there's nothing to me, like, listening to it on a very base level, I'm like, there's nothing to me that, unless I told you, like, why it's really technically, like, accomplished, or, you know, I think is very technically accomplished for something I've done, or blah blah blah, you know, you wouldn't know. Like, you wouldn't really know. I think it still flows really well. I think it's yeah, I think that we did some sort of technical things on other records and things like that, and I think we've always been quite good at saying, okay, well, it's not just about sort of being arty fucks about it. It's about actually, like, making something that, like, people want to listen to as well. So yeah, I'm deeply proud of this record, like, as a whole as well. I have to say, I think we did get better at the kind of writing more quickly. Ish. It still took us quite a while.
It didn't feel quick.
No, but I think we got to a better place quicker.
We did, yeah, because we gave you guys longer to write the brass lines. I remember that.
Yeah, that was kind of, I was certainly strong arming the conversation of saying, I kept on trying to remind everyone, so broadly, just in the timeline of things, that we were on tour with Big D and the Kids Table, Kill Lincoln, and Catbite, and basically we had all of the studio booked for about, I think, like 2.5, 3 weeks after that tour, and the guys and all of the way that we work, which maybe different to other bands, is that we kind of, like, do all of the demo recordings and stuff like that, and then we sort all of that stuff out, and then actually Lewis and I take all of the we normally come up with some ideas and stuff, like, in the room, and, like, just record a bunch of, like, sort of like very rough brass lines just to kind of get things going, and then actually he and I take it away and we work in his studio, and normally just with, like, MIDI keyboards, instruments, and we literally just go, right, what's the right fit for this section, this bit, like, where do we think this goes, etc., and we just kind of do all of that stuff completely separately. Yeah, I think I do think we kind of got quicker and better at that craft. But yeah, so basically I kept on saying to the guys, I was like, you don't have up until we go into the studio to record all these demos, because we're on tour, and if you think I'm writing all of our brass lines, like, while we're on tour, I'm not. Like, I'm on tour, like, look, with you, like, I am going to be on tour with you, remember, I'm going to be busy. And so it was like, you need to give us more time. So yeah, we did eventually.
He got very angry about it. And we're like, geez, like, the last album we gave you 1 week. This time around we'll give you 2 weeks. Like, what more do you need? Doubled your time.
To be honest, I do find with this one as well. Like this isn't kind of like crapping on our previous record or anything like that, but I do kind of listen to the prior one. And I now listen to it with the ears of the ears and the knowledge of what I've achieved with Lewis on the brass stuff on the new record. And I went back to the previous two, and I did kind of feel like there were things that I just kind of went, I kind of wish there was some missed opportunities for me. Not many, though. Weren't like things like, there aren't like things I hate or anything like that. But there's kind of like sections of songs where I'm like, I kind of wish I had like done this or that, played a slightly different phrase here, there, and everywhere. And but there's not there isn't a second of this new one. I think I kind of was also kind of always having that in mind. Like when I went into the studio, I was like, I don't want to go into the studio unprepared or anything like that. And so, yeah, I just spent so much time pouring through every note that's on this one. And yeah, I'm immensely proud of it. I'm immensely proud of what we've all achieved, I think. So,
but I think everybody had that same attitude with this one. I think where we were quicker, I remember Trev talking about bass lines and him just he was meticulous on this one. I remember the broken recording sessions for bass are like kind of half notorious because he'd have like a couple of options for some sections, and we just didn't have that kind of, we didn't have as much time in the studio to work with. So on this one, certainly he was like, this is not just about being prepared. Like he wants all these lines doing exactly the right thing, to the point where he's like, well, do you want me to go up with this run or down? Like what's the brass doing? Because I want to create a counter here or something like that. But just back to, like all five of us do it, taking ourselves that seriously, but like wanting to be completely and utterly happy with every single note and phrase and rest and everything on the album. I think we all hit it with that same kind of intensity, that collective intensity as well. But
it seems like the genre, sorry to interrupt you, but it seems like the genre kind of, requires you be planning ahead just a bit, because there's so many moving parts in there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't feel like every time we get to the end of recording a record, I kind of think to myself, there must be a quicker way. There must be a better way. There must be a way that we can get to this point quicker. I don't know. It's funny. Like we always have these ideas, and I always think, the first time I hear lots of stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I love that. Like that's really cool. And then we do this thing where we just take the idea away, and then we come back to the room again, and then like several of us hate it, and we're like, well, I've listened to it all week and I don't like it anymore. And it's like, all right, okay. And so we do have a very active democracy with this stuff in the band. It's like, if anyone's not cool with it or a bit meh about a section, it's just like, okay, put it in the bin, let's start again, and just rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. Yeah. And we kind of got quicker.
We have gotten quicker with that, but we still, because we get to the point, it's like, think about it this way, like on Broken, for those songs, I remember those songs taking 4 weeks each pretty much, and having a writing session on one song like every one of those weeks, and that would be like 3 hours. So every song's got about 12 hours work into it. We before it's finished, I reckon for this album, a song might be finished in say 3 of those sessions, so we've written it in 9 hours. But because we finished it earlier, what are we going to do with the extra week that we've now got? Well, we smashed it to pieces and we rewrote it even better than it was before. So I think we were quicker, but we were still using the same amount of time to destroy our work and make sure we're completely happy. So one of the talking about this yesterday, Justin, one of the songs on the album, like I wrote pretty much in its entirety, minus the brass, handed it to the band, and we just started picking it apart, and people saying, well, I'm a bit meh on this, or I don't like this section. And before I knew it, like 4 weeks later, none of the original section survived. The entire song was different. and it was 2 minutes, and it was 2 minutes shorter, and it just had a completely different vibe to it. And that's just the process that it took. And it doesn't it doesn't matter that we technically wrote a different song to the one we were trying to write. We arrived at that one via this other, piece of crap that I'd put together. Or whatever.
But I mean, it's a banger now though, so it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yes,
and you couldn't have gotten
right.
there without that starting place. I mean, that's where you began. So
no, and that's it. Like, but just back to the kind of the things being technical point of view. Like the best thing about storytelling in this way, the best films that you see or the best TV shows, they don't feel complex. They don't feel complicated. They don't feel like they've taken 200-300 hours to write or whatever. They just feel like they're supposed to, and you get it. And hopefully that's how this album comes across. It's not going to feel like we're like at one point we had to at one point our drummer who is the best drummer I have ever met had to figure out how to play what we wanted him to play because he didn't because we were doing something new, and he had to figure out.
Watching him go into the Mind Palace for that one was pretty special.
Yeah, he seemed to black out for about 2 minutes. He's like, no, give me a minute. His eyes rolled back into his head like a shark, and then
he did actually, didn't he? Because he did actually sit. His eyes closed. We could see his hands moving, and just but not actually hitting the drums. And we could just see him figuring it out. I've never seen him pushed like that before, so I kind of want to see what else we can make him do. But then every time I've re-listened to that section after we recorded it, at no point did I ever think like, oh, well, that's really technical on drums, because you groove with it. Like hopefully you feel it, so you don't, as Mark was saying, like the technical thing is not front and center. Like at the end of it, every time we wrote a song, like does this make us happy? Does this make us want to like shake our fist because it's like, because it's got that much energy? Does it make us want to jump around? Does it make us happy? That was the first worry we had with every song we wrote. And then after that is when we'd be like, well, maybe let's play 7/8.
Well, that's awesome. Is that one of the singles that we've heard already, or is that one of the ones that's on the album not out yet?
The one with the drumming one that we were talking about. That's it's do we pull the curtain back that much? It's the last track on the album.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Yeah. It's
cool.
It's a biggie. I think it's probably my favorite thing that we've ever written, but it's also very personal to me. But I've got a 2-year-old daughter now, so it's written about her in relation to the kind of subject matter and stuff. So it's a very emotionally personal song, but also it fucking bangs.
And that's what you want. So and it looks like so the album comes out March 1st, and then it looks like over here across the ocean on my side, you guys will be coming over was it in May for a few tour dates?
Awesome. East Coast in May. We're doing 10th to the 18th.
That
awesome.
Is correct. Well done.
Yeah.
Well
done. Very cool.
Well done.
We'll toss those. I'm sorry, Mark, were you saying something?
No, I was just congratulating Luke on remembering our tour. So,
yeah, we'll toss those tour dates in the show notes too, so people over here know when they can catch you guys. So listen, we're running low on time here. Is there anything we missed about the album, the tour, the band, weird habits you guys have, anything like that we want to talk about?
I love that you just slip weird habits in at the end. I think you've got enough from us. I think quite a lot of this is already is going to issue criminal proceedings, I think, based on my 9,000 like songs. So I think maybe we'll shift on, Oh dear.
All right. Well, excellent. Thank you guys for coming on. And I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the album. And I don't think any of those tour dates come too close to my direction, but one of these days I'll catch you guys live. and that should be a lot of fun. So
Oh, bless you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for having us on, man. It's been really
totally,
really
for sure.
fun, really fun, and I feel like a different person now. I feel lighter.
You know what?
I have unburdened myself. Yeah,
I'm here to help. So yeah. So until the next time, Mark, nice to meet you, and Luke, nice to, I guess, meet you in another electronic form.
Yeah, it's nice to talk properly to you.
All right, well, you guys take care, and good luck with everything. Okay.
Take care, man.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to Anywhere the Needle Drops, a product of Red Chuck Productions. Be sure to keep tabs on everything going on with this show and everything else Red Chuck over at redchuckproductions.com or by following us at Red Chuck Productions on social media. Special thanks to Hero Jr. for our theme music. You can check them out, listen to their songs, and see where they're going to be over at herojrmusic.com. That's herojrmusic.com. Also, special thanks to Paul Clemson, our sound engineer and producer. And while you're at it, make sure you visit the websites and Bandcamps and shows of all of our guests. If you want local music, if you want independent music, or any kind of art, you've got to support them. So give musicians and artists your money. We will see you at the next episode. Until then, here's to life.